eBay Motors is here for the ride. Elbow grease and a whole lot of love transformed 100,000 miles and a body full of rust into a drive entirely its own. LED headlights, spoilers, whatever you need. eBay Motors has it at affordable prices. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride every time. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This message is brought to you by Cologuard. Cologuard is a one-of-a-kind, non-invasive colon cancer screening test. The test kit is delivered right to your doorstep, so you can collect your sample in the privacy of your own home. There's no special prep, no need for time off, and no changes to your diet or medication. Your Cologuard collection kit comes with simple instructions, but if you have any questions, they have a customer care line you can call 24/7. If you're 45 or older, at average risk for colon cancer, ask your provider about Cologuard. Cologuard is available by prescription only. Learn more at Cologuard.com/listen.
When you're ready to pop the question, the last thing you want to do is second-guess the ring. At BlueNile.com, you can design a one-of-a-kind ring with the ease and convenience of shopping online. Choose your diamond and setting. When you find the one, you'll get it delivered right to your door. Go to BlueNile.com and use promo code WELCOME to get $50 off your purchase of $500 or more. That's code WELCOME at BlueNile.com for $50 off your purchase. BlueNile.com, code WELCOME.
Looking for a fun way to win 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/play100 and use code play100. That's code play100 at prizepicks.com/play100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer, then no time left for a jog.
When everyone else is relying on you, it's easy to put your needs last. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com.
Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello, Rank Squad, and welcome to Ranks FC. This is your favourite football podcast, back for another week. My name is Jack Collins, and I'll be your host today. And I'm joined by the Rank God, Mr. Sam Tai. How you doing, mate?
Hello, very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I saw an 8-goal thriller at Craven Cottage yesterday, so very excited. Got to see Dean. Everyone had a good time.
Yeah.
Especially Dylan. Dylan was having a lovely time, and seems like a fair point to introduce our transfer guru, Mr. Dean Jones.
Yeah, he did have a lovely time. I think that was his favourite game so far. No surprise, really. He saw 8 goals. He woke up this morning. He goes, "Dad, I didn't even do a dream, but we actually saw 8 goals, didn't we, at Fulham yesterday?" So, yeah, we did, mate. We did. He was so happy. Yeah, if you're thinking about having kids, then I've finally got a reason. It's good taking them to football.
That was the nice bit.
No,
we're going to talk about the Premier League,
you, isn't he? He's always excited to see you too.
Yeah, I got a nice hug.
You do always get a nice hug. He's very polite and nice when he's not on his phone as well. He's got my old phone and he plays these games on it, and it's getting him to look up these days is becoming a bit of a problem.
The youth of today, as they say, the youth of today. We're going to talk about the Premier League in a little while, but we're very full of goals after yesterday and absolute madness across the division. But I think Things We Love is going to start this week by talking about some trophies that have been won in the past sort of 5 days. The last time we recorded, Napoli were on the brink of becoming Scudetto champions, Serie A champions. They have achieved that feat. They won the league in Udinese, or at Udinese, in Udine, on Thursday evening. And there were some pretty unbelievable scenes across Naples and beyond. And to be honest, unbelievable scenes around the world. And I think maybe my favorite bit of all of it, there was incredible scenes at the Maradona. Osimhen's goal sent the place into absolute raptures. And the videos coming out of it, flares going off. There was, the Maradona was full to watch a screening of the game, and flares going off in the stands to watch the TV, really quite something. But the scenes and the pictures of Naples lighting up, the moment that everything goes off, the moment that title is won, and the scenes around the world, I think were absolutely incredible. You're seeing, parties in Rome, in New York, in London, where all of these things are coming together, and just a magical evening for everyone associated with Napoli. They have waited a long, long time to be back, crowned as champions of Italy, and it all felt like the catharsis, and especially the way that Napoli kind of stumbled a little bit towards the line. You're like, they were never going to make this easy, were they? No. But it's over the line, it's done, and Napoli are champions once again.
33 years. That is a long time. That's a long wait. What was it, the third time they've
I'm 33.
Yeah, there you go. I was just trying to think if one of you was 33. There you go. So Sam's waited his entire lifetime, literally, for that moment. And there it was. Was it worth the wait, mate? Was it worth the wait?
Fantastic. It was a great day for the Football Picks That Go Hard Twitter account, wasn't it? Ultimately, that's probably how I'd put it. Those pictures of Osimhen walking out to fireworks and things like that, just absolutely incredible. Some of the best visuals I've seen in some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favourite. Well, I don't know whether this is like some sort of tradition I've missed, but like when Osimhen scored the equaliser, did you see like they took the ball off the pitch and put it into a bag? What is that?
It's a thing they do in Serie A, and I think they do it in Liga as well, where you can like bid for the ball via
every ball that a goal scored with, or just important goals. I couldn't gauge.
Normally, it's the first goal of a game, but I think in this regard, they were like that might well be the ball that wins Napoli the title.
Yeah.
So therefore,
they've got these really cool bags, haven't they? Like they're ready made. Like I was like, they made such a big deal about shoving it going in, and I was like, someone's going to steal that. That's worth so much money. But hopefully it's all under wraps, and I presumed it's for charity or something, or just for the club museum now, maybe, because that was the goal that sealed it for him, wasn't it? But that was quite cool to see that.
Yeah, very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I mean, Sam, there was a lot of kind of thoughts around Napoli this season, and the fact that so many of the old guard left last summer. It really has been a remarkable job from Luciano Spalletti and his team in terms of turning that around, turning those negatives, if you will, of the departures of Koulibaly and Insigne and Mertens into massive positives. And what they've put together this season, just stunning in so many ways. And with a group of players that, not all of whom were particularly highly heralded, let's say, at the start of this season.
No, not at all. They lost, 4 or 5 key figures. We've talked about this a lot, but we can run it out one more time to sort of crown them. They lost really important players over the current era, or the previous era, I guess you could say now, of Napoli, and Lorenzo Insigne and Koulibaly and players like that, and Fabian Ruiz. And they replaced them with players that on paper were just not as good. And despite that, they've not only improved and won the title at a relative canter, accepting that slight stumble over the last 3 weeks or so, but we knew it was done. They've played the best football in Serie A by some distance. They've been the best team, and they've played the best football. And they're going to hit over 90 points, and they're going to win the title by a massive margin. Like, absolutely incredible. I remember sitting with you, Jack, and thinking, at the time Napoli appointed Spalletti, that, while he's a good manager, and no one would ever deny that, his fiery, volatile nature was perhaps an interesting fit for the city of Naples, I think, if we were to put it politely. And it turns out it was exactly the right fit, wasn't it? I'm not sure that we were convinced that his temperament was right for the team or the city, but it's been a match made in heaven. And even if they, drop a level and fall away a little bit next season, it just doesn't matter. It was all about getting this title, all about ending this wait. Absolutely amazing stuff.
Imagine Diego was having a good old time looking down on this one, enjoying himself. There's that song, isn't there? Messi in Heaven. That's exactly how I would imagine that things have gone in the last couple of days for Diego and the crew up there. But if you are looking at this, Spalletti last season had his car stolen by Napoli ultras, who basically sent him a message saying, "We will give you your car back when you leave the club." Those people must be feeling pretty silly right now.
Yeah. Did he get his car, or is he still waiting?
He probably got a new car now. They probably give him a new car. Like, sorry about that, my dude. Here's a nice mower.
Yeah, might miss the target on that one. Not sure.
Yeah, I just slightly missed it. I mean, it's something that's been talked about a lot, but I thought it was really interesting. And I think you're right, Sam, in terms of not only have they played the best football in Serie A, I think when they were in full flow, there's an argument that Napoli were playing the best football in Europe this season. It was absolutely scintillating stuff when they found that rhythm, when they found that flow. And yes, it's been a little bit more stagnant, I think, on the second half of this season. But you expect that when a team come out of the blocks that hot. There has to be some sort of drop-off because no one can maintain that kind of pace for a whole season. So major congratulations to Napoli. They have been a delight this season. And as I said once before, and I'll say once more, the Greeks said that the gods dwelt on Mount Olympus, but in football terms, deities now dwell once again at the foot of Mount Vesuvius. It feels like a true moment for the city, for the region, I think, as well, and for this club that has so often been the bastion of heartbreak in Italian football, in European football. Just felt like Napoli have been the perennial bridesmaids. So for them to finally get their moment back in the sun after 33 years felt like an incredible moment. And I imagine Naples is going to be partying long into the summer. And to be honest, probably until someone is crowned champions next season, just until like one more people do it. Until there's officially a new champion, we're champions, and that's fine. And that should be enjoyed in its full capacity, I think, in Naples. It wasn't the only trophy that was won this weekend, though, Dean, because Real Madrid won the Copa del Rey. And to be honest, it's not quite the same level of weight. It's been 9 years since Real Madrid won the Copa. And it felt like the final piece of the puzzle for a lot of these players. The last thing, someone like a Rodrigo or a Vinicius Jr. has not won at the club. And it completed quite a remarkable journey for Real Madrid in that they've won every trophy available to them in just under 500 days. So it's not a sextuple, because to do that, you have to have won every trophy in the same season. I believe that only Barcelona and Bayern Munich have achieved that feat in European football. But they have won, I think, what they're calling a sextetta, which is basically these 6 trophies and in 475 days.
Yeah.
That's pretty stunning.
Yeah, especially for Camavinga. He is 20 years old and he's just won all 6 trophies. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like, what? Oh, he's won the Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, Spanish Super Cup, Copa del Rey and La Liga. There you go. I'm only 20. What should I do next? Right, next career.
Just go and play a different sport.
This is why you join Real Madrid.
This is exactly why you join Real Madrid. We're doing a transfer episode today. We're obviously going to be talking about Real Madrid on this show and like the Bellingham situation and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, Real Madrid are a very easy sell. They walk into a meeting, they're like, "Do you like trophies? This is what we've won in the last year." Ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, and some amazing goals as well. The Trivela assist from Vinicius Jr.
Vinny just ripped him apart, didn't he? He just rips him apart.
And Rodrigo turned up again. In a big game, Rodrigo turned up again to be the guy.
Yeah, he scores the goals that matter. Like, this is what they do. Like, Vinny turns on big game performances and is the difference maker and carves the defences apart, and Rodrigo's there to finish off the bits and pieces. So, like, it's ideal. Like, obviously, we're talking about this, and Real Madrid have just played Man City, so we won't go into how that's gone, but we've talked a lot this season about how Madrid aren't as good an all-round package as they have been in past years, but they've still got that winning mentality. And yeah, those two epitomise it at the moment.
Yeah, Sam, they've been, remarkable in terms of what we've seen under Ancelotti. Yes, the league has fallen away at quite a canter this season, but what he's done since returning to Real Madrid has been very, very special.
Yeah, for sure. It's been really good. I mean, what I will say is that I thought they were a bit sloppy in this final. I don't know if you've got anything to contest me on that, but I thought they were a bit sloppy in midfield. In the final third, I thought they gave a lot of balls away. I thought they were very indecisive and very inefficient. And one part of me wants to go, well, they're lucky it was only Osasuna, in air quotes. But then the other part of me goes, no, but Sam, Real Madrid played exactly as well as they needed to win the trophy, and no better. They did exactly what they needed to do. And then they were like, okay, huge game Tuesday night. And that's kind of what they do, isn't it? The way they're able to switch gears when they need to, and then dial it back down, and then refocus to a different tournament, a different competition, a different level of opponent. It's remarkable. And I think that gene, that skill, whatever it is, that's Carlo. That's Carlo Ancelotti right there. And that's what he's able to get from his group of players. And the Rodrigo surge, I guess, because this is the most he's ever played. It's not like he's coming back from a situation. He's getting more and more trust. He started a lot of games recently. He's really starting to give Carlo Ancelotti these headaches that all managers say they love, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, as headaches go, it's a good one to have. Do I play Valverde or Rodrigo on the right-hand side of my attacking three? It's going to be very interesting. By the time you listen to this, Real Madrid will have played Manchester City. It's going to be very interesting to kind of work out how things are going to go and how they're going to do that. So lots to be excited about there. A couple more things from this weekend in terms of trophy lifts. We saw one in the championship that people weren't particularly pleased with. It's the second place trophy that's given out in the championship, which was handed to Sheffield United. A lot of people going absolutely mad about this, saying you shouldn't get a trophy for second. It's unfair. But you get a trophy for winning the playoffs. So it feels a bit unfair if you get one for first and third, but not for second.
Yeah, you deserve a trophy.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah, nor do I.
Because obviously, it doesn't make sense for third place to get a trophy when second place doesn't. But if you win the playoff final, it does make sense to get a trophy. So I don't know where I stand on this one. I think I don't like it. I don't like second place trophy. As strange as it sounds.
You got to have something to celebrate with. It's only really just like something to wave in front of your fans to show you've done something. Otherwise, all you got is one of those silly little flags that they give you.
We are going up.
Yeah, that's
great times.
You need
everyone's enjoying those.
Wave your little pot around.
Yeah, everyone. No, they seem to enjoy it Bramall Lane, but just generally, I think it's quite an interesting one. And then there were two more I want to talk about. Celtic clinched back-to-back Scottish Premiership titles under Ange Postecoglou. A remarkable achievement for him as well. When he came in, and we spoke about this on Monday's Patreon episode, so I'm only going to touch on it briefly. But when he came in, there were a lot of people saying sacked by Christmas. Ange Postecoglou has redefined Scottish football in the 2 years that he has been there, or at least redefined the power balance in the old firm. It very much is all coming up Celtic right now, and he's done an absolutely incredible job, Ange, and then deserves all the credit in the world. And the other thing, and I know Sam was incredibly adamant that I talked about this. It was that the Urawa Red Diamonds won the Asian Champions League. So that's good.
Yeah,
congrats.
Stuff. Well done to them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jack was saying that we should start the podcast by talking about trophies won, and I just politely pointed out that the Asian Champions League had been won this weekend. I thought that was fair. Over 2 legs, they beat Al Hilal. So the game we sometimes play as football fans is we go and have a look at, like, say, for example, Al Hilal's squad and look at it and look at all the players that we recognise from 3 to 4 years ago. And
Messi.
Jack, it was Andre Carrillo, Peruvian winger, who settled the game, but not in the way that he would have intended.
No, he scored an own goal. So it meant that Urawa won. It's the 2022-23 Champions League title in Asia. They've won it twice before, in 2007, 2008, and 2017-18, I believe. So congratulations to them on their third Asian Champions League title. Fantastic stuff.
The Real Madrid of Asia.
They'll be dancing in the streets of Red Diamonds tonight. Right, and on that, I think it's probably time that we move on to our main segment. We're going to be talking some big transfers for this summer and giving our take on where certain players in demand should be headed after the break. So stick with us.
Walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer, then no time left for a jog.
When everyone else is relying on you, it's easy to put your needs last. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com.
Welcome back to Ranks FC, where it's time for our main segment. We are entering silly season and on a Champions League week, so we thought it was time to look at some big name transfers, potentially players on the move this summer. So, Dean Jones, I'm going to give you the floor and you're going to set us up for what should be a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little chat. Lads, I think we'll enjoy this. Let's dig into 5 big ones that are on the cards, or at least going to be big talking points. And they really are big names, so it's going to be fun to talk about some of these players that we don't usually get to cover all in the same show. And I'm just going to start with Messi, to be honest, because why not? If Messi moves, it's always the biggest transfer. That doesn't matter in terms of where he actually goes. It's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And we all hoped he would spend his whole career at Barcelona. Well, he's at PSG. It's not gone great. It's got a little bit better. But just as it was seeming like it was getting better, he's off. Messi's going to be leaving PSG on a free transfer this summer. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about the potential of him getting back to Barcelona. There's been talk too of maybe he goes to MLS, Inter Miami, been long linked. But there's a little plot twist, because obviously he was suspended by PSG recently for his little trip to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia have got a nice little proposal for him in the shape of 400 million euros a year. You could buy like a Boeing 777 for that. He could buy his own passenger plane. Like,
Sure, he needs one.
He might as well. He doesn't need anything, I don't think. So, like, he might as well buy one. Imagine just putting it aside every month. Right, there's my plane money. It's ridiculous. It's a bit sad, but it's looking kind of likely. Now, it's a difficult story to gauge because a lot of people have been had mixed ideas on it that I've spoken to. Some say, no, there's no final decision on this yet. Just wait. Like he wants to see if Barcelona can actually open anything up so that he can get back there. And like, there's been an open policy, I think, with Xavi for a lot of the season about the fact that Xavi would love to have him back there if he can get him there, but just completely unable to promise anything. But Messi has to make a decision at some point, and yeah, it's looking like, well, one, the Saudi Arabia offer is real, which at the moment there aren't any real offers on the table for him, so he has to consider it. And two, that is more than anyone has ever earned in football ever, including Ronaldo, who's there at the moment. So, yeah, he obviously got to consider that. I don't like it, lads. Like, I haven't watched any of Ronaldo when he's been in Saudi Arabia because I find it unwatchable. I find it tough. I can't gauge what he's actually doing. I mean, he's got a good scoring rate while he's been out there.
It's also very difficult to watch.
It's also difficult to watch. Yeah, it's pretty much unavailable. I mean, I don't know if that would be the case if Messi got there as well.
They're broadcasting it here in the UK. Sky Sports have started streaming it on YouTube in the UK.
Oh, okay.
So you can watch it if you want to go on there. But I've not yet seen it on television.
No, none of it, which didn't think would be the case. I thought they would really be pushed on us to be watching Ronaldo in this league. And it's not. I'll be honest, Ronaldo doesn't seem like he's having a great time, does he? Every time.
There's been a lot of rumours of him leaving, and I wonder if, and I don't necessarily mean this in a negative capacity, if it's like that being out of the spotlight is kind of not what he's been used to for so long, and people aren't talking about him. And, it's not, oh, wow, it's gone perfectly either. It's not like he's fired, Al Nassr to the title, or it's not like things are going perfectly in that regard. And that makes it even more, I'd imagine, complex in where he's kind of at in terms of his teammates, I'd imagine, for one, but two, in terms of also dealing with the fact that it's no longer, the main talking points. The world moved on very quickly.
Yeah,
of course, yeah. Lads, I've got to be honest. I've had to think about this, and I just aside from a potential Barcelona reunion or maybe something in Europe, maybe, but it's hard to find a good fit for him. I don't think I'm going to like what Messi does. Like, whatever it is that he does, I just don't think there's going to be a conclusion that I find palatable, because he's still one of the world's best players, and it seems very likely that whatever step he takes next, he is going to drop down several playing levels to a degree that really is well beneath him. Whether that's the Middle East, or whether that's MLS, or whether that's that kind of romanticized, long fancied return to Newell's Old Boys.
I could do that, though.
Whatever it is, I will not be happy.
I could do that.
It's just the way it's going to be.
The narrative of him returning to Newell's to see out the end of his career at the place that gave him his first start, in a stadium named after Marcelo Bielsa. Yes is yes for me, obviously. Yeah. I think the romance of that. Basically, you do have to remember that he has basically completed football now. That World Cup win is the end of it, right? That was the last thing on the bucket list, I think. If Lionel Messi had a list right at the start of what he wanted to achieve in world football, you'd imagine he's now achieved it all. Like, it's done. Yeah. It's finished. Yeah, so going back to Newell's now and doing that, I think would be amazing. There's obviously the kind of underlying question mark over that about what happened back in March when there was the supermarket that was fired upon, and then there was the piece of paper that was left for him in Rosario that said, Messi, we are waiting for you. The mayor is a drug dealer. He will not keep you safe. So whether that's a threat or whether that is we want to change the system, etc., the fact is that this supermarket was owned by the father of Messi's wife, Antonella Rocuzzo. So there's a lot going on here. And, his father-in-law's shops are being ridden with bullets. There are underlying issues that no one is quite sure what they all mean. And so that romanticized fantasy of him going back to Rosario right now, I think is going to be a struggle. But I do want to see that before he retires.
Yeah. I mean, look, all we can say right now is, like, in Saudi Arabia, like, Al Hilal are supremely confident that this is done. So, like, while we are throwing up these other ideas, like, the news as of right now is that, like, it's being reported as a done deal, basically. I mean, Fabrizio Romano isn't saying that, to be fair, but, like, other sources are. AFP put out a report this morning with Saudi sources, and AFP is a reputable news agency who they don't speculate too much, but they've got on the record and said, people are saying this is a done deal. Now, obviously, Messi's wife has had reservations about this, and that's been reported quite heavily too. They've got 3 young children. She didn't seem that keen on the idea of moving to the Middle East. I mean,
well, there is also the thing about the children. This has been released. They've been re-enrolled into a school in Barcelona. So whether the family are all going to,
it's a long commute, Jack. That is a long bus.
Well, he does have his own plane now, so that's good.
He's like, yeah, but if I get this move, I can buy the plane that flies them there each day. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Messi, he's 35, so he's going there, like, younger than Ronaldo. Obviously, like, there's the potential here that these two are playing against each other next season. Those two, Al Hilal and Nasser, are rivals, I guess, in that league.
Well, Al Hilal also will want to avenge their loss to the Urawa Red Diamonds in the final of the Asian Champions League.
Well, that would have been a key selling point.
That in mind.
That was a key selling point in this move. Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I had to open Messi, lads. I mean, it's mad. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, when you start hearing about Messi moving, he's only 35. You think, Premier League? Do you want to come, mate? Come and do a year. Just give us 1 year of Messi over here. Newcastle got loads of money. Man City, you got Pep Guardiola's over here, mate. Like, just come on, just give us 1 year. It's never going to happen. We're never, ever going to see Messi.
It was then or
in
nothing
the Premier League.
2 years ago when it nearly went to City. That was the make or break moment.
They would have done it. They would have done it.
I do think Barcelona will be moving mountains to try and get this done. We've heard about Xavi trying
moving players, you mean? Literally shifting players off by the day.
Thinking about playing him in a slightly different role. We've seen that's been something discussed. Him in kind of maybe the Gavi-esque role on the other side of this midfield as that fourth midfielder who's allowed to just kind of create and be a playmaker. It's going to be very interesting to see if that does go through, how Messi will fit into Xavi's tactical setup. But I think there's a long way to go on this yet. Much as done deals are reported, I do think there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Right, let's move on to the second big transfer story. And this one is, well, it looks like it might be tied up. A lot of people talking about this one last week. Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid. Real Madrid 1, Man City 0 on the transfer front. We don't know how the Champions League game's gone. But Madrid look like they've nipped in here and got an early winner. So
shouldn't it be winner gets Bellingham? Really?
Absolutely. This is what it should have been. Like, as soon as that draw was made, it's like, right, Jude Bellingham sits in the stand. Whoever wins this game gets him for next season. You're both willing to play him absolutely ridiculous money. It's all fine. He can't go too far wrong at either of these clubs. But it sounds like, Madrid's sweet talking really has worked. They've been chasing him for a lot of this season. The two guys that are kind of being credited with the glory of clinching the deal, if you like, are the chief scout. I'm not going to do his name any justice here. Huni Calafat, probably not how you say it, but also managing director Jose Angel Sanchez, who both have been in talks with Bellingham. And interestingly, like the moment that it looks like there was a breakthrough was in March, and it was actually in London that they managed to have the talks. Obviously, Dortmund were in London for a Champions League match, and it sounds like that was the conversation that really swayed things in Madrid's favour. I mean, I had heard for a while that if you were going to have a leader in this race, then it was always Madrid that had the edge. A lot of people talked up Liverpool, and I was just never hearing. It's always a bit unnerving when you're hearing different things to what's being reported, because you've really got to trust people or just not go too hard on it. It depends which way you want to go. I kept being like, I'm not really hearing this Liverpool stuff, but we'll go along with it for a bit. Anyway, Liverpool in the end just can't really compete. I mean, I think the belief is that Bellingham's going to be earning in the region of £400,000 a week, which would rule Liverpool out, to be fair. So they couldn't have even got involved in that conversation. And yeah, I think Man City would very much have liked Bellingham. I don't think it was like everything to them. I think that there are other fits that are potentially even better for Man City in the current system. Bellingham, they'd have had to adapt things to fit him into that team. Still would have been a good signing, obviously. But Real Madrid, we've talked obviously about earlier in the show about Camavinga. He's won all 6 club trophies at the age of 20 since landing at the club. And that's it, isn't it? I mean, that's what Bellingham's signing up for. The chances are he might even have Haaland with him before too long. I mean, I thought he might have gone with his mate to Man City and they might have gone to Spain together in a couple of years. But, Madrid really are getting to the point where they need to find that Benzema replacement, and they are on the lookout. The Luka Jovic idea didn't quite go to plan. So they're back in the market for that. I don't know when Haaland's going to leave Man City. Obviously, they want him to sign an extension, and year 1 has gone pretty well for him. So he might not
be done okay, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done all right, hasn't he? He's settled in quite well. But yeah, Jude Bellingham, lads. How do you think he'll fit? I mean, Sam, I'll ask you first. Like, what do you think of Bellingham taking the decision to go to Madrid? Because Modric too has just extended his deal, hasn't he, at Real Madrid? So that's interesting.
Yeah, he's about to. I mean, let's say first of all on Calafat, the scout. He seems to be like a bit of a superhero for Real Madrid, doesn't he? Like they sort of deploy him when they need to convince someone to sign for them. And I remember him getting his flowers when they convinced Vinicius and Rodrigo to sign for them in the space of 12 months. They sent Calafat out to talk to the family, to set the scene, to sort of convince them that Real Madrid were going to be, the right destination for them. And he was like on the ground there in Brazil working with the family and the teenagers at the time and making sure that they picked Real Madrid. So like it doesn't take a genius to realize that Bellingham is a very good footballer. That's not why we're giving him the credit, but he does seem to have the ability to convince players to choose Real Madrid over anybody else. Whatever he says, it really works.
Yeah.
And for Bellingham at Real Madrid, honestly, obviously he's an amazing footballer. But I'll stay on brand and say that really all I wanted from Bellingham's next move would be for him to go somewhere where he was slightly less important to his team.
Thank you. I was just about to bring this up.
Which sounds really silly, but I'm worried about how many minutes he's played. Yeah. He's crucial. He has to play every minute for England and Dortmund, and I don't like the start of the strapping on his thigh, and I don't like it when he limps out of tackles and stuff like that. And he shouldn't be playing this much. So Real Madrid, let's go and rotate with Luka Modric and have a year of what is half tuition, half playing, like the Tchouaméni year. Perfect. Absolutely amazing. I love this idea. And it would have worked for City as well. I'd have been happy with either of those two. Just deprioritize him ever so slightly and just have him maybe finish that footballing education that he never actually got the opportunity to study for because he was already so important that he just got thrown in. So at Madrid, what a wonderful number 8. Will fit really well into the 4-3-3, can do loads of stuff, and can get a little bit of a rest here and there. Might add a couple of years on the end of his career.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, this was it. And, I remember you tweeting this, I think, back in March, Sam. You were having a discussion with Luke on Twitter about the fact that he's played, nearly 200, I think it's over 200 games now as a 19-year-old. And you're looking at, players here who've done the same.
It's like Pedri, Saka, those guys, yeah. They're all same.
Neymar was a little bit of this, and Neymar actually fully has, I think, tailed off a wee bit in terms of injuries, obviously, and then struggled with injuries later in his career. You look at Wayne Rooney, who was someone that started, not quite this many, but definitely some, who also had to sort of change gears later on in his career. I think Rooney adapted well to kind of the latter elements of his career, but it burned out faster, I think, than many people had hoped for. That's not to say that, he didn't achieve tremendous success, and the same could be said for Neymar. But it does mean that you just start to worry a little bit about how much his players are being used. And especially, I think, as the game gets more and more intense. The Bundesliga is an incredibly intense league, and maybe this is the final part of that puzzle. La Liga is less so. He is less intense than the Bundesliga and less intense than the Premier League. And again, that's not a criticism. It's just a slight tactical nuance in terms of the way that the game is played. It doesn't make it better or worse. It's just different. And actually, a little slowdown in tempo might be something that Bellingham just gets a little bit of a breather in. And so this is it. I would have liked the idea of Bellingham at Liverpool in terms of how he'd fit, in terms of that side, in terms of working under Jurgen Klopp. But he would immediately become probably the most important player in that side, definitely the most important player in that midfield. And suddenly he's back in playing 50 games a season again. And that's concerning, I suppose, if we're looking at how much game time and how many minutes Bellingham is getting. So Real Madrid seems to be the fit, I think, that probably works best.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way that one's heading. So that is a very interesting one. Right, you can choose next one. Do you want a midfielder or do you want a forward?
Forward.
I'm going to go forward. Okay. What's the bigger name? So that's fine. It's Harry Kane. Lads, this is a confusing one. This is going to ruin my summer, I think.
Here again, are we?
Here again.
Oh, wow.
Every year, you think it must be the end. So, let's set the scene. Harry Kane, 1 year left on his contract. Tottenham are reluctant to let him go. Harry Kane turns 30 this summer. He's at a key moment in his career. He still hasn't won a club trophy. He's still waiting for that. But, at a time when...
they won the Audi Cup?
Oh, yes, sorry. At a time when he wants, really understand where this club's heading. Well, they haven't got a manager. They haven't got a director of football. They haven't really got any football philosophy at the moment, and it's another summer of complete uncertainty under Daniel Levy as he tries to fix things and convince someone and everyone actually to get on board with whatever his vision is. Now, big problem, obviously, in recruiting a new coach is persuading them that Harry Kane's actually going to be there or that he's not, and they will have X amount of money to go and spend on a new striker. Like, that is a major problem. Of course, attached to that is this issue with the director of football. Like, who is that manager actually going to be working with and under, and what's their scope going to be in this job? It's very difficult. And then that flips and it gets deeper, and you get into a conversation with Harry Kane at the end of the season. He's like, right, what's happening? They're like, oh, don't know yet, mate. We haven't got the director of football or the manager. Well, it's just nonsense. Like, it's just nonsense.
How can you sign on for that? How can you get on board?
So he can't sign any new contracts because you've got literally no idea what you're signing up for. So then you've got it down to the facts, like, does he see out the year and leave for free at the end of the season? Now, for Harry Kane, that's not the worst idea in the world because it opens up the whole world of football to him and he can pretty much go wherever he wants. The problem for Daniel Levy is that his big things, obviously, he doesn't want him to join he doesn't want him to join Chelsea, that's for sure. Well, he absolutely can join Chelsea if he wants to in a year's time for free. Like, Daniel Levy can do nothing about that. Maybe he'd believe that in the meantime, during the course of the season, if things went well, we could talk him into a new contract. I'm sceptical about that.
I was sceptical about it the last time, though, when it happened. So...
It did. That's happened already.
It's happened already. But the third issue really is, like, are Man United going to not make the Champions League? Because that's seen as the most obvious landing spot for Harry Kane. And if they don't make the top four, if they do bottle this and Liverpool end up nicking that spot, can they sign him? And further than that, even if they could, the thing that's been pointed out to me a couple of times...
Is the join worth it? Is the pain worth it for the...
Well, how long will it drag out? How long will this drag out? Because I can't see, like, United saying, right, first week we got the top four. As soon as the window opened, let's ask Daniel Levy what he wants. If he says, like, 100 million, we'll give him 95 and it's done. All right, we'll get Harry Kane in for the second week in June. That's not going to happen, is it? Daniel Levy will drag this and drag this and drag this. Yeah. Because of course he will.
That's what he does. That's what he does.
That's what he does. I mean, even if it doesn't help his own football club and they're scrapping around for a new striker, like, he's going to do it. The other thing that I find a bit strange is that, you know, I speak to quite a few people around Tottenham that are well versed in what's going on. At no point has anyone really suggested to me a striker that Tottenham are after. So I don't think they're even had a look yet at, like, who they might get. Like, obviously in the past they've been linked with people, and you think, oh, maybe they'll go for, like, Vlahovic or something like that. Maybe if Vlahovic became available. But again, it's all speculation.
They do have Brazil's number.
They have Richarlison, obviously. Yeah, the high scoring Richarlison. So that if their plan is to replace Harry Kane, the club's all-time leading goal scorer, one of the greatest Premier League goal threats we've ever seen, with Richarlison, who's got one goal in a year, it's a bit of a gamble.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's a gamble. Richarlison is a good footballer, no doubt about it. Can he replace Harry Kane's goal threat? Dubious about that. So this is it. Like, where else would he go? Ideally, he wants to stay in the Premier League. He's got this Premier League record up for grabs. Like, Bayern Munich, potentially coming for him. Would they pay that sort of money? Not so sure. Look, PSG, maybe. If Messi is going and it's opening up that sort of money on the wage bill, maybe they could go down the Harry Kane route. But
tell you what, Mbappe keeps talking about how he loves playing off a big man like Giroud.
Yeah, the only skepticism I've got around it is that it sounds like PSG genuinely are changing the model and trying to get away from the superstars and becoming a little more localized. They're linked a lot more to players like Kolo Muani, to Moussa Diaby, to Thuram, like
Marcus Thuram, he was a PSG fan growing up.
That's a lot. That seems to be a lot to do with it at the moment. They've got more of a connection with players and players who are from Paris or even just France to understand and build things up again. Obviously, fans have been pretty hostile recently about things like the Messi situation, and you know, it's happened a few times in the past couple of years where they've had a with the superstar players. So yeah, look, there's potential there. I'm not going to rule it out. It could happen, but what do you think, lads? What would you do? You're Harry Kane. Where's he go?
I think you're right in that if United get Champions League football, then it seems like the obvious landing destination. There's also the kind of added thing of Manchester United are, if not England's most successful club, then England's joint most successful club alongside Liverpool, and Harry Kane is England captain, right? There is a long-standing kind of bit there
You could replace Harry Maguire as captain too.
Yeah, well,
they have to have a Harry. Apparently,
that's another. They have to have a Harry in charge.
It's either Prince Harry or Harry Kane.
Let's see if Sally's there as well, so he can meet her. But if United are in the Champions League, I think that as a landing spot makes the most sense. I know it's a little bit kind of speaking the obvious, but sometimes the obvious is there for a reason, and I do think that matches up. I think he'd work well in a Ten Hag system. I think that he brings everything that you'd want in terms of that relationship with Marcus Rashford and trying to develop that for both club and country.
Yeah. Good for England, isn't it?
There's a lot to like, I think, about it from a kind of tactical perspective, Harry Kane. But equally, he's an incredibly intelligent player, and I would back him to work his way into pretty much any side in the world. And that's maybe the flip on the PSG thing, in that, yes, they want to go less down the superstar route and maybe more into people that understand it. Kane strikes me as the kind of person who the fans would take to, quietly efficient, not going to make a massive.
Oh yeah,
it's not it's a superstar.
He's a low-key superstar.
Yeah, on kind of footballing level, but actually in terms of not necessarily lifestyle. I'm not suggesting that he's
celebrity. He's not a celebrity.
It's definitely lower key than what we're looking at right now in the PSG dressing room, and therefore maybe that changes things. But I think you're right in terms of the Premier League goal record. I think that has to be on his radar, and if it's not, then something's gone drastically wrong.
He can always come back, obviously, but
it's a big record, and you have to still get there.
Yeah, and he's like 60 odd goals off it, right, or something like that, and so that's conceivably a couple of seasons work. For Harry Kane, that's at best 2 seasons, if not 3. So you need to consider that, and he's going to turn 30 over the course of the summer. He's played a lot of football. I mean, broken record, but he's played a lot of football. He's got a history of ankle injuries. How long is this window? Yes, he can come back, but if he goes and does 3 years at Bayern or PSG or something, will he be remotely capable of scoring the 60 odd goals that he needs when he's 33? We don't really know that. So, Jack, you talk about Man United there, and it does make a lot of sense. I think Chelsea also just makes sense. And they won't be in the Champions League, but I just don't think that matters, because
do you not? Do you actually not think it matters?
I don't think it matters, because if Harry Kane is basically giving up on Spurs because he sees no possible route to glory, I think that's fair enough. Chelsea will find their way to a trophy in the next 3 years in some capacity, and they'll probably get back in the top. They're obviously in a massive blip, but Chelsea, as a team, you can much more easily trust to get back in amongst it than Tottenham, who have spent the last 10 years struggling to do so.
Yeah, 100%. And then, but there's the emotional caveat of that, isn't there? Right? There's one thing leaving Tottenham for Manchester and kind of moving away to a different part of the country. Yes, obviously a top 6 rival for Spurs, but definitely not someone as belligerently hated by the fan base as Chelsea. I think that if Harry Kane left this summer, and I know Spurs fans would be upset about this, they would be far less vitriolic about the idea of him moving to Manchester United than they would be about Chelsea, and rightly so, because that's that's a completely different dynamic. And I think Harry Kane's emotionally intelligent enough to realize that there's, I don't think he'd completely ruin his legacy at Spurs by moving to Manchester United. I think he would by moving to Chelsea.
Yeah, but Pochettino looks like he's going to do the exact same thing. So it only goes so far, doesn't it?
Managerial's slightly different, I think.
I mean, it isn't. Pochettino spent a lot of time talking about how he'd never managed Barcelona because of his Espanyol loyalty, but is perfectly apparently willing to cross the London divide there and go from Tottenham to Chelsea.
But also Tottenham, there was an option for Tottenham that haven't pursued that link, right? If we've spoke about this, and DJ was talking about it the other week, that Daniel Levy has decided that he's not going to pursue that Pochettino link, or at least hasn't pursued it in the way that maybe we thought he was going to. Pochettino's probably like, well, hang on, it's not like you're here going, you're giving me an option and I'm making another decision. You just haven't come to the table.
Well, maybe Daniel Levy listens to the pod and he hears you muttering, "Never go back, never go back, never go back."
I think he's
while
right.
Dean talks about Pochettino. But yeah, look, go to Chelsea, become the focal point of that team, the thing that they're crying out for. Go and play with Raheem Sterling and foster that connection even further, one that's been so good for England. There's a lot of parallels here between Man United and Chelsea in terms of what he can actually offer them. And I think we can all agree from Tottenham's perspective, they should sell him, right? for 100 million this summer and not
rather
losing
than let him
free
go
next
for
year.
free.
Like,
I
surely
think so.
this is what they should do.
Can we flip the script slightly? And if, what is Harry Kane going to cost? And you've just mentioned the fact, Sam, that he is 30 this summer with a history of ongoing ankle injuries. He's been okay for the last 2 seasons now, or 2 years. I think his last real injury was April 2021. At what point or at what cost does it become a bad idea for Manchester United to spend that money on Harry Kane? Because if they only have 100 million to spend this summer, yes, centre forward is the position that probably needs the most work from a United perspective. But if they're going to spend their entire budget on Harry Kane, is that wise?
Well, yes,
probably not.
It's the one position that needs fixing the most. I mean, that is what you would say. I mean, they need a proper goal threat in that team. If you watched them, what was it, Brighton game the other day? There was just like nothing there. And like Martial's not up to it. Weghorst unlikely to be kept on. Like Rashford better coming out from wide than playing centrally. Mason Greenwood would have been a good option right now. Doesn't seem like that's going to be feasible again in the future. They haven't got it. And like Harry Kane is the most obvious fix for it in terms of like guaranteeing Premier League goals, but also making the same sort of tactical plays that kind of Weghorst makes. Like one thing that's been better for United since Ronaldo left and Weghorst came in is that Rashford has actually improved because Weghorst's work off the ball opens up spaces and allows Rashford to flourish in moments better than it was before. Yeah, and Kane also does that. Like, he still continues to score a lot of goals, but the way that he drops off positionally would probably suit United in this kind of style that they've been building up to as well. So I think that's the other thing to consider. And, United, they don't need to go invest in a goal. Like, I know De Gea's, like, you can debate whether he needs replacing, but, like, it's not as important as finding a goal scorer. Finding a new right back, not as important as finding a new goal scorer. Okay, like, they could probably they definitely need another central midfielder. Like, that also needs to be fixed.
But the thing is, I think they definitely need a centre mid. I think they definitely need a goalkeeper. And there's a couple of arguments here and there. So to Jack's point, like, if you blew out your budget on Harry Kane, does it lift Man United closer to the title? I'd argue ever so slightly, but not within range. Whereas Chelsea have got so many players that really they just need the one, don't they? I mean, yes, obviously you can make the arguments elsewhere, and obviously Kante needs help and stuff like that. But like, if they put Kane in this team, it transforms the team. Like, it lifts them several levels.
Yeah, I mean, they need a manager too. I mean, I know that Poch is linked, and there's been a lot of this.
It should be this week,
but it's another one. Yeah, but we've been saying that for 3 weeks.
Wow, yeah, there's good briefings this week. I'm more confident this week.
Okay, all right, let's move onward, shall we?
Yeah, the fourth one is Declan Rice.
Speaking of Chelsea.
This is what's interesting. So today there's been an interesting story that's come out. I mean, it's been reported for obviously months now that Declan Rice likely to leave West Ham and that Arsenal will be the team that he most wants and that most want him, etc., etc. Today, the little flip on this, and it came from Sky Sports, so it's a decent source, was that the valuations around this are £120 million to sign Declan Rice or £100 million plus a player. Now, I find it really interesting that has suddenly been briefed to somebody. Like, they haven't just made this story up. Like, this has come from somewhere. I think Evening Standard actually ran a very similar story. So that suggests to me that there is some legitimacy around this rumour. It's only come out this morning, so I haven't checked it out properly yet. But I'm like, okay, so what I'm thinking now is there somebody that West Ham actually want? Are they thinking there is a player that actually fits what we want, and you can have Declan Rice if we also get this player in return?
Is it Flo
from
Balogun?
which club?
Well, I mean, this is what I think. This is what we've got to work out. I mean, Arsenal are obviously like primed, supposedly to sign Declan Rice. I don't really see a player that works going the other way. I mean, there's been links with Balogun. Not sure that would be the one. I think they were linked with Smith Rowe at one point. I think that Arsenal have still got plans for Smith Rowe. Kieran Tierney, I think, will go somewhere else. So I can't really see that. So then the other two you're really looking at Chelsea, City, Man United, and you think, okay, well, Man United, if it was to be them, I don't think it is. Scott McTominay's been linked. Like, are they that desperate for Scott McTominay that they say, just make sure we get a player in return and give us 100 million for Declan Rice?
I guess it makes sense that they would be looking for a central midfielder.
Yeah. What about Sambi Lokonga?
No.
Don't think that's going to be...
Not under Moisey.
No.
Is Moisey staying?
At the moment, yeah. So, sorry, just take me on to Man City. Well, they got Calvin Phillips. What about if it's Calvin Phillips and money?
Yeah.
That is actually where I'm now thinking, hang on, are they spotting something here? They know that City just been nudged out of that Bellingham discussion. We know that there is a fondness of Declan Rice. We know that they're looking to revamp that area of the field. Declan Rice models himself on Yaya Toure. Where better to go than go and be the new Yaya Toure. So there's a lot of reasons why that one could add up. And the other one, Chelsea, who definitely like him. I mean, there are obviously loads of players, but you'd look immediately at Gallagher and Loftus-Cheek and players like that.
Two players that Moyes would probably really like, to be honest with you, particularly Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, so I think that's where you're looking. So actually, when I read this story this morning, I actually it cheered me up a little bit. They had a new angle and I had a new lead to pursue. It's like a detective in a case, and suddenly someone drops some new information. You're like, oh, this takes me in a different avenue. I can make some different calls apart from the fact I know I know a few people that know Declan Rice very well. His first pick all season, his priority has been to Arsenal. Like, that is true. Arsenal really want Declan Rice, but I don't think Arsenal would pay £120 million for Declan Rice.
Not with 12 months left on his contract. So he's under 18 now, isn't he? He's under 18 months left on his contract.
I don't think they would even spend...
I think he's got a year plus a year's option from the club. So technically, I think they could make it 2 years, but I don't know for sure.
Arsenal just aren't going to spend that, are they? They're not going to spend that. And I'm not sure they've got the players to offer going in the other direction that would get it done. So that is a twist. And I mean, look, for all the season that Declan Rice has been talking about going to Arsenal, they've been top of the league, looking like they'd be champions. I'm not sure it alters too much if they don't win the league, because you can still see what the project is and what the rise has been. But we know that Chelsea aren't going to be this bad again, and I fully expect Chelsea to be back in contention, certainly for top four, maybe even the title next season. Who knows? And Man City, so they're going to be doing it too. So, yeah.
You know what strikes me there is you've sort of gone through like 3 or 4 different clubs there and tried to pick out, who might be interested in Rice and who could go the other way. And all the clubs we mentioned that he could do a great job for. And we're talking about really, really good teams. And it just really brings into the spotlight and hammers home how good Declan Rice is and how good at so many different things he is. Yeah. Because you're talking about Chelsea, and I think he'd look amazing next to Enzo Fernandez. I really do. I think he'd bring that kind of physicality and that drive and that athleticism to complement Enzo. I think he would massively improve Liverpool and make their midfield a lot better. I think he could do the John Stones role at Man City to a superb level, and I think he'd elevate Arsenal too. And then I could just carry on naming clubs, and but that's it. Like, we're talking about an absolutely amazing player here who we're like, yeah, could play for Chelsea, but he could fit into all of their teams, all of their styles. He could bring something valuable to Pep and Klopp and Arteta and Pochettino all at the same time in different ways. I think that's remarkable.
Yeah. I've got this overarching vision now of West Ham being like, right, it's going to cost 120 million for Declan Rice, and go to Chelsea and be like, or you could pay 140 million and we'll take Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
Rude.
Yeah, 100%. You love him, Jack, don't you? You love him.
Oh yeah, some player.
Yeah. Right, lads, I'm going to round this off just with a name that's not quite as sexy in most people's eyes as this one, but a rumour that's been, quite firm in the last few days is it's Alexis McAllister leaving Brighton and Liverpool.
This is a World Cup winner, and you've just said he was less sexy than the other names.
Well,
get out of here.
His profile, I'm afraid, doesn't quite reach the other 4. But
because his name's McAllister.
Yeah, but in a football sense, he absolutely is. So Brighton really trying to play this one down in the last 24 hours. Briefings that there's been no contact, and then they're not expecting any contact. Don't know how
that's optimistic.
I don't know how clubs determine whether they're not expecting anyone to phone or not. But they said the same thing about Cucurella, pretty much. I remember all that stuff that didn't go their way in the end. So,
they outright denied it. hours before it was sealed.
Hours before it was sealed, yeah. And there do come times, lads, when you just have to remember that football clubs are just protecting their own brand, they're protecting themselves, and they're going to put out lies as much as any other person in the world might do, because it's in their own interest to protect their assets and protect their own situations. Particularly, it's this time of the season when they're trying to get over the line and getting beaten 5-1 by Everton. So, I think the Liverpool link is interesting. We know that they want midfielders. The two that are also interesting here are the situations with Mason Mount and Ryan Gravenberch. Both of those players are seeking clarity over their future at Chelsea and Bayern Munich, and really don't know at the moment. I mean, Gravenberch really doesn't seem too optimistic over what he's going to hear about their plans for him. Mount, I personally think Chelsea will make Mount a good offer, and I think that Pochettino will want to keep him, and it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up staying. But at the moment, that genuinely isn't the case, and Mount, if you just look at what we've got in front of us, he looks more likely than not to leave. So Liverpool have to wait on those situations to resolve themselves too, and I think that they're quite hopeful that happens right on the back of the season so that they get a clear indication, because Liverpool will want to go into pre-season with their squad for next year. They can't have a season like this one again, and they'll want to be well settled. But Alexis McAllister, yeah, you don't get too many Liverpool pursuits that are played out publicly, but there's been quite a few people that do cover Liverpool closely. Your Paul Joyces and Chris Bascom's of the world that you really rely on when they start talking about something. You take it seriously. James Pearce too,
But is the link here, Dean? Is it because he's Argentinian? Because I feel like there's a pretty strong theme of Argentinian transfer gossip just leaks. Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe.
whoever is dealing with these on the football side of things, they just talk and talk and talk.
Yeah, it just feels to me like it hasn't been knocked down for them to not write. Like usually the pack around Liverpool would stay pretty quiet over stuff until it was like firm. And the fact that there have been a few articles, talking about where he'd fit, how it might work out, suggests to me that there's an optimism around it actually happening. I'll let you explain whether you think Alexis McAllister solves the issues.
Well, look, a really important part of this that you haven't mentioned, Dean, is the prices that they're talking about, because it shapes how we talk about the deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, Brighton. We saw how aggressive they got over Caicedo in the summer. I think they'll be looking at that. They'll pinpoint the 80 million mark. I don't know if they'll get there. I don't think it's going to get there. Don't think it can. But
I think Alexis is a really good player, but obviously we're getting to.
I mean, I understand why Brighton are going to try
sums.
that. Of course they're going to. Yeah. Of course they're going to set him out in that bracket. We're just talking about Declan Rice there, and as a £100 million footballer. So why shouldn't Alexis McAllister be talked about as being as good a player as Declan Rice, and he's being priced just under? So I think it probably settles out lower than 80 million for sure. But yeah, Brighton are a stubborn team. They're stubborn. But there does genuinely feel an acceptance from people I speak to that one of the big players is going to go. We talked about this recently. One of them's going to go. I think you said you'd let Matoma go, didn't you? If you were to pick
if it were up to me, I'd sell Matoma.
Yeah. I don't know that there's the same scope for
monetary interest.
Yeah, I don't know. There's the
which
same...
makes sense because
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I think McAllister would be excellent. Although I would say that if Liverpool were going to buy a Brighton midfielder, I would suggest that they buy Caicedo rather than McAllister. Not necessarily because there's much. I don't think there's huge amounts between them in terms of quality. I just think in terms of what they're offering and the ability of Caicedo to play numerous roles. We've seen him filling in at right back recently, which is something that Liverpool have a slight need for their central midfielders to do if Trent's going to go wandering. So it's going to be very interesting to see what that is. But I don't.
But Alexis can play a lot of midfield roles too, right? We've seen him play tip of the diamond, base of the diamond.
Right back.
No, of course not. But no, you're not buying a 60, 70 million midfielder to think, let's give him serious minutes at right back. You'd hope not. But obviously, Alexis has played energetic number 8 for Argentina in a 4-3-3. He's played in a 4-4-2 for them as well as one of the 8s. He's played base the diamond tip. He's very good. He's got a good amount of goals in him. What struck me is that after Liverpool spent so long going for Bellingham and looking at how their midfield has been through all season. I just thought they'd go for someone a bit more physical than necessarily than Alexis. And that's maybe just me misprofiling, what they wanted to do. But going from Bellingham to McAllister is a bit of they just feel quite different. So I was a bit confused by that. But I watch McAllister play and I get a little bit of an old school Gundogan vibe at times. Like really nice, kind of like high volume passer, really creative presence, good work off the ball, can carry it as well, takes a mean penalty. Wow. Very, very good. And obviously with the recent World Cup win, it's not going to come cheap. But he's not the kind of player that I thought Liverpool would be looking at once Bellingham had kind of died off.
Yeah. Maybe they're going to try and actually do what they need to do this summer, which is sign 3 different profiles of midfielder maybe to fill the gap that Jude Bellingham might have been able to cover a lot of by himself. So we will see on that one. We'll see. But yeah, I think that Alexis going to Liverpool would probably be quite good vibes for everybody, as long as it's with a couple of other midfielders, unless I suppose you're Brighton, but they've almost certainly got someone else in the tank ready to go for when this one develops. And with that, I think it's probably time for us to finish this segment and move on to our third and final part. So don't go anywhere.
The new Chevy Silverado HD puts you in command. Own strength with its enhanced available Duramax 6.6-liter turbo diesel V8. Own the lake with its available advanced towing technology. And own technology with an available 13.4-inch diagonal touchscreen. The new Chevy Silverado HD. Own work, own play, own life. Learn more at Chevy.com. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Ranks FC. It's time for part 3. Thank you so much to Dean for that transfer ranking. I'm going to throw the floor to you once again, though, my friend.
Still not finished, am I? Blimey. It's time for Melon of the Week. This week's Melon of the Week is the BBC. And the reason I've had to go for this is because there was no match of the day on Monday night. And people were fuming about it. People were absolutely fuming about it. Like, if you live outside of England, you're not affected by this, and you can pretty much watch as much Premier League football as you want, and it's easy to grab hold of it. But here, unless you have subscriptions, like it genuinely does become quite hard, especially when the days are when it's spread over various days. Like it's a Saturday, usually okay. Saturday night, you'll get match of the day, and you can watch everything from that day, and it's nicely cut up for what you wanted to see. People do still rely on match of the day because of the cost of watching football, even if they just record it and catch up on the bits that they need as and when. But there was 3 games on Monday, and the BBC thought, well, let's have a look at the fixtures. Fulham, Leicester, Brighton, Everton, Forest, Southampton. We could probably skip that. No one's going to care, are they? Well,
you've got none of the top 6 audiences, have you, there? So they sort of go, never mind.
More goals in Monday's 3 matches than combined across Saturday and Sunday. 21 goals and absolutely ridiculous matches that were you couldn't take your eyes off any of them. They're 3 of the best matches you could see all season. Just not really logical football, but brilliant all the same. Like the Fulham match that me and Jack went to, it was like a charity match, to be honest. It was like neither team had anything to play for, but actually one of them's got everything to play for. So it was just...
I said this on Fulhamish Live yesterday. It was the most unserious game of football I have ever been to in my entire life. I have seen Sunday league games with more structure than what I watched at Craven Cottage yesterday. It was carnage. Brilliant. Leicester didn't have a midfield in the first half. So what they did at half time was took a midfielder off. I felt sorry for Boubacar Samare. I was like, my dude, you've been asked to do this all by yourself for approximately 20 minutes. It was impossible.
Lads, I didn't get to see it. It wasn't on TV in England.
Wow.
I watched the final stages of the Championship regular season, which was awesome.
Well, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
so there was that going on at the same time.
So
yesterday
it was
in England
okay.
was the best day of football ever.
It was okay.
There is
but
my
to your point, I literally could not watch Fulham Leicester on my television.
Absolutely ridiculous.
There wasn't even another game going on at the same time. It wasn't like, oh, okay, we can't cover this because it's there's lots of games on. It was on. There was no other Premier League game on at the same time.
Nope.
But to be fair, it did have the championship. The championship final day is one of my favourite things ever in football. So
it was honestly great, especially as Tom Kearney scored twice. But yeah, Brighton 1, Everton 5, Forest 4, Southampton 3. A day of football that nobody was predicting, but definitely not the BBC, who, people were not happy with them not showing a match of the day on Monday night. Right, let's go on to shout out of the week, because we do actually have one this week. Thanks to Jumpman from Washington, DC.
What? The man himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says, look forward to this podcast every Wednesday morning at work. There's great chemistry between the fellas and everything just genuinely flows. I get raises at my job for every review I get, so I feel the pain when you don't get any. Much love, Jumpman.
Cheers, MJ.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that. I appreciate the empathy there.
Yeah, fantastic.
Get your shout outs in, people. Please review us on Apple or wherever else.
Yeah, you can get them in. Get them in. And the chances of the readouts are high these days. Right. That is the gibberish siren. Sam, over to you.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was. Very strong.
Yeah, well done. Okay, we're going to cross sports for this gibberish. I am going to lend my expert hand the way of Formula One, who, Jack, I think badly need my help.
Yes.
Because they have a problem. And its name is Red Bull.
Yeah.
Red Bull are way too good. Just way too good. We're 5 races in, and they've more than double the amount of points of any other team. Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, first and second on the drivers' leaderboard. I think they've got all 5 wins between them. That car that they've produced is too good. And pair it with Max Verstappen, and no one can compete. Quite simply, there is a competitiveness issue in F1. So
big Bayern vibes, isn't it? Big Bayern vibes.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah, for sure. Maybe this is Red Bull's revenge on Bayern. But I've drawn up 3 fun new rules ready to be incorporated at a moment's notice by the FIA to stoke the fires of competitiveness on Sundays. So, at 3, I've ranked this a little bit lower because I'm actually not sure about the legality of this and certainly the morality of it. We put a live hamster in Max Verstappen's jumpsuit for the duration of the race. I don't know if you have any experience of driving with live animals in the car, Dean, or in your jumpsuit, but I would imagine it's quite distracting.
No, just children.
I can't drive, so that's good.
You really need to learn that life skill, though.
But not done it. Suspect it's very difficult. I was going to go ferret, but I think that borders on dangerous.
And I think it might border on dangerous even with a hamster, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, but it's less dangerous, isn't it? Because it's probably less prone to attack you. And I'm not trying to create crashes. That's the last thing I want. I just want these guys to be slightly off the ball, make things slightly more difficult for them, cost them a little bit of time, cost them a little bit of concentration. We're looking to increase parity. We're not looking to increase danger. But let's go with hamster, but I'm open to gerbil, anything else like that. Pop it in the jumpsuit. See how he does. I don't know. We'll
I do think there's a slight element of we're just asking for a little bit of cause a lack of concentration. At what? 200 miles an hour? Oh, no, we're not going to cause any more danger. It'll be absolutely fine. I really hope your other rules are better. Let's go.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, fine. I don't think these cross into the morality sector too much. At number 2, I propose that we remove all of the straights from all of the tracks, because this is where the Red Bull car is just downright better. Obviously, it's kind of better everywhere. But as soon as they get onto that straight, they just eat them up, don't they? Get the DRS after two laps, and Max just tears past everybody. No one can compete. So the only way to really deal with this is to just remove all of the straights. Make all tracks just all corners. Because there are a couple of drivers, I think, that are better than Max at the sort of tighter corner tracks. I think Perez is actually better, which doesn't really help me at all, but is what it is. And Leclerc can be better as well. So I'm not really too worried about damaging the spectacle here. Go-karting is basically all corners, and that's fine, right? That's pretty good.
Mm.
Yeah, you went go-karting this weekend, didn't you?
I did, yeah, I did. It was fun. Actually, to be honest, there's something in that we had our first race with all the lads from the Stag Do, and that was great. And then the second race, they put two of these fellas who came in their own suits and their own helmets in.
Did they have hamsters in?
No, but I think if they did, we might have actually had a better chance of getting around the track faster than them. So there is that to consider at this point, I think.
These two fellas named Max and Sergio.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they were in Liverpool, but it turns out they were.
They're supposed to be in Miami.
Exactly. Quick flight over the top.
My number one idea is that one of the Red Bull mechanics in the pit stop must be blindfolded at all times. So, doesn't always have to be the same person, but every time a Red Bull goes in for a tyre change, one of the four guys holding tyres and a drill must have a blindfold on. This will create stoppages.
And they must be spun round 5 times as well, and then they can take their penalty.
But obviously the name of the game F1 is time efficiency. You've got to get those pit stops nailed. 2.2, 2.5 seconds is excellent. Anything over 3 is pretty poor. I think with one guy not being able to see, we're moving into the 4-5 second territory here per pit stop. This happened. This will create two things. First of all, Red Bull will just lose time, or they'll stop less, so they'll be on degraded tyres, so they'll get worse. Either way, this is the safest way, I think, to effectively cost them time and therefore increase parity. I asked my wife about this, and she said that we should throw smoke bombs in the Red Bull garage when they do pit stops, and I thought that would be very dangerous.
Yes,
because it would leak onto the track and into everybody else's garage, which would just create absolute, probably red flags.
Yeah,
carnage.
Too much chaos in that one.
But blindfold one of those guys holding a tyre, and let's see what happens.
Not if Esteban Ocon's going to go driving into the pit lane and he's going to be out on the track. So it's all slightly concerning at the moment anyway. But
maybe all of those guys in the pit stop, they all had blindfolds on. That's why they didn't know a car was coming.
Maybe. And that caused a huge safety incident. I am slightly concerned about all of these ideas, I'll be honest. But I do appreciate your desire for parity around the circuit, Sam. I think that a lot of F1 fans... Also, it does feel a bit like a wasted opportunity because about 2 years ago, everyone was like, wow, this is a really fun, good thing. And there's lots of tussles and battles everywhere. And now that's just kind of gone. It's like, oh, okay, Max is starting 9th. I wonder how he'll get out of this. Oh, right.
He won.
Fine, no problem. He won. Exactly. It's just one of those things. Right, with that, I think it's probably time for us to call it a day here on Ranks. And all that's left for me to do is say thank you very much to our transfer guru, Mr. Dean Jones.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much to our rank god, Mr. Sam Tsai.
Cheers, buddy.
I've been Jack Collins, Knave of Hearts. This has been Ranks FC. We'll be back tomorrow after the Champions League games, giving you your full review of both of the first legs of the semi-finals. So keep an eye out for that on your feed. And then after that, we will see you next week as ever. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do send Ranks on to any of your friends who you think would enjoy this episode or concept of the show in general. It really does help us to grow. Take it easy, gang. Peace.
Gotta walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer practice, then there goes the extra time for a jog. That's okay. Maybe next week.
When everyone else relies on you, it's easy to put your needs last. Therapy is a dedicated time to focus on what you need to be happy, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. BetterHelp offers convenient online therapy on your schedule. It's the same professional service you'd get from an in-person therapist, but with the option to communicate when and how you want, by chat, phone, or video call. Go to their site and fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com.